Hope you're all doing great. So once again, welcome back to my channel. And today we will be talking on the cardiac cycle as a topic, which is very interesting. But before we begin with the topic for the discussion, let me wish each one of you a very happy and prosperous new year ahead for you. So let's begin. So as we know, like we have four different chambers in the heart, two auricles and two ventricles. You also know that they contract in an alternate way. Means if auricles are contracting, ventricles will relax. If ventricles are contracting, auricle will relax. That means somewhere down the line, you will get to see that there is a rhythmic contraction and expansion happening as far as your own heart is concerned. So that rhythmic contraction and expansion of the heart is what you call as a heartbeat. Right? And as you know, our heart beats 72 to 75 beats per minute. That means once one beat gets over, there will be another beat. Then if that gets over, there will be another beat. So you can say heartbeat 1, heartbeat 2, heartbeat 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on and so forth. It will be happening in a cyclic way, right? One after another, one after another. Now if I write it for you, say this is one heartbeat. This is another heartbeat, another heartbeat, another heartbeat. Like if this is a chain which goes on like this, and let me write it here. Say heartbeat 1, say heartbeat 2, say heartbeat 3, and say heartbeat 4. Now, for us, the most important thing is, from here the heartbeat 1 has started. Now it will go on and on and on. Means something is happening as of now, the heartbeat is going on, right? And there will be a moment when just before the heartbeat 2 gets started, you will be ending up here, right? That means from one heartbeat to the beginning of another heartbeat, whatever is happening here, these events are what I call as cardiac events. Again I am saying, starting from one heartbeat to the beginning of another heartbeat, whatever is happening, all these events are collectively known as the cardiac events. So just understand one thing. Once these cardiac events get over, your heartbeat 2 will start, then the same cardiac event will be repeated here, then the same cardiac event will be repeated here. So are you understanding the fact that these cardiac events are happening in a cyclic way? If you say yes, you get it right. These cardiac events are what you call as the cardiac cycle, and this is what we are going to study here. I hope that makes sense. Now, as we know, for any chamber, if it contracts, it is known as a systole, and if it relaxes, it is known as a diastole, right? That means you will be getting auricular systole, ventricular systole. You will also get auricular diastole and ventricular diastole separately. Like I've told you, the heartbeat for us, it is 72 to 75 beats per minute. That means if you calculate a single heartbeat, it near about takes 0.8 seconds. Right? Now if I write something for you here, say approximately for one heartbeat you require 0.8 seconds. Now if you see this 0.8 second individually for auricles and ventricles, then you must be getting some data. So for that to understand, if I write it here for you, say auricle and say ventricle. Now what I know? I know that auricles, being a chamber, will show the contraction, which will be known as the auricular systole, and alternatively it will also show auricular diastole, and same will be repeated for the ventricle. So I'll write ventricular systole and ventricular diastole. Now understand, these are some data I'm going to share with you. That is, the auricular systole lasts for 0.1 second. That means rest 0.7 second is for auricular diastole. And if you do the totaling here, you will get the 0.8 second back. Right? Now if you consider this, as far as ventricle is concerned, you will see the ventricular systole lasts for 0.3 second. Needless to say, whatever you are left with will be for the ventricular diastole. And if you do the totaling again, you would be ending up with 0.8 second here as well. Right? Now, what we are going to see here in case of cardiac cycle, we will try to see the activity of these chambers on an interval of 0.1 second. And before we begin with that, let me tell you one thing clearly, that you also know this fact. For us, the activity of the ventricle is more important. Why? Because it is the ventricle from where the blood will be going out of the heart. Say you think about the right ventricle. So from the right ventricle, the blood reaches to the lungs via pulmonary artery for the reoxygenation. For the left ventricle, the blood will be going each and every corner of the body because it is carrying the oxygenated blood, and that will be carried by the systemic aorta. So moral of the story, the blood will come out of the heart from the ventricles. So for us, the activity of the ventricles to be monitored becomes more important. So this is what we are going to see right now. Now what I will do, I'll make two tables so that we can figure out what we are going to see. I write, say, auricle here, and ventricle. I'll make a column like I've told you, and I'll see the activity of these two chambers on an interval of 0.1 second. So I'll write it here. Say, zero point 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Now from the previous data, if you remember, we have seen that for auricle it was 0.1 second required for the systole. That means rest 0.7 second will be required for the diastole. So I'll write it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Now again from the previous data, we have also seen that the ventricular systole lasts for 0.3 second. So I'll start from here. 1. Hold on. If you remember, I told you something, and you also know this fact, that the contraction of the heart chamber cannot occur simultaneously, as you can see. That means if auricles are contracting, ventricles cannot. So definitely it is my wrong. So I cannot write the systole over here. I hope that makes sense. Now the question comes, then sir, from where we should start? Now guys, from the previous experience, I'm sure that you must have known this about the conducting system of the heart. If you have not sure about it, I'll be making a video on the conducting system of the heart very soon. So stay tuned for that. In this case, we see the presence of the SA node, AV node, bundle of His, bundle branch and the Purkinje fiber. That means SA node is said to be your pacemaker, AV node is said to be your pace setter, and at the end of the day you require the impulse which is generated in the SA node. By the way, your heart is said to be myogenic in nature, right? Because it can create its own impulse on its own. So the impulse which has been generated in the SA node, you need that particular impulse to travel all the way down to the ventricles, and so that to the ventricles it gets spreaded throughout the walls of ventricles. Because like I've told you, again I'm repeating the point for you, ventricle is the most important organ for us, the chamber for us, because the activity is very, very important as far as ventricle is concerned. As the impulse is generated in the AV SA node, you want that impulse from the SA node to travel down all the way along to the walls of the ventricles. And the moment it spreads throughout the walls of the ventricles via Purkinje fiber, then only the ventricles can squeeze. So try to understand that if the time taken between pacemaker and the Purkinje fiber, means the impulse coming from pacemaker to Purkinje fiber as say X unit, the same time difference will be there between the auricular systole and the ventricular systole. Why? The moment pacemaker generate the impulse, and that impulse gets spreaded throughout the walls of the auricles. Hence the auricle contracts. Hence the auricular systole takes place. Now what do you want? You want the same impulse to be travelled from that pacemaker down the way and throughout the walls of the ventricle via Purkinje fiber. So there has to be a time difference, right? That time difference is 0.1 second. Means it takes 0.1 second for the impulse to travel from the pacemaker to the Purkinje fiber. That means my ventricular systole will also take place 0.1 second after the auricular systole. So moral of the story, my ventricular systole starts from here. If you see, there is a gap of 0.1 second. So from the previous data what we have seen, this ventricular systole lasts for 3 seconds, 0.3 second, right? So 1, 2 and 3, and the rest 0.5 will be for diastole. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and you have got the 5 one. Right? So that's about it. I hope this part is clear to you. Now let's understand, again I'm repeating, for us the activity of the ventricle is more important. So let's understand how the filling of the blood takes place in the ventricle. So for that to understand, let me make a small diagram like this. Say if this is your ventricle over here, right? As you know, you'll be having one gap here, right? And say you would also have one more gap from where your respective artery will originate. So needless to say, this is your left ventricle. So from the left ventricle, which artery comes out? It is your systemic aorta. And this is your right ventricle. That means from the right ventricle, which blood vessel comes out? This is your pulmonary artery. Right, guys? So definitely here you will be having one valve like this. So if you see, these valves are said to be your cuspid valve, right? And there will be one more valve. I'll make it with different color. I hope green will be visible. So this will be one more, which is said to be the semilunar valve. And you know the function of all these valves, right? Now let's understand what basically happens. So for us, we must start from here. Means ventricular systole. Now understand. Say the ventricle is contracting. That means these two ventricular chamber will release the blood out. That is the main motto of the ventricle. Now understand, whenever for a chamber, irrespective of its type, whenever it is contracting, don't you think there is a chance for the blood to get the backflow? Yes, that means if right now I am having blood over here, so it is filled with the blood like this, and if it gives a squeeze, don't you think there will be a tendency for this blood to travel all the way back to the auricles? Right? It's a tendency, backflow, right? So for that to be prevented at the time of ventricular systole, at the onset of ventricular systole, your cuspid valve will get shut, and that will happen with the sound. That means here at the onset of ventricular systole, you will get the first heart sound known as a lub. Why? Due to the closure of cuspid valve. Because you don't want blood to go back to the auricles, because the blood has come from there only, right? But you want the blood to go into these respective blood vessels. So blood from here will now enter into these blood vessels. That means blood will start accumulating here, and if you can see, it will happen for 0.3 seconds. Now understand, at the end of the ventricular systole, what is happening? The blood in the ventricles has become empty almost, right? Also, your cuspid valves are already closed. Now if you see simultaneously here, you see the auricles have already in the mode of diastole. That means in a diastolic phase, for any chamber, it starts accumulating the blood. That means understand, cuspid valves are closed, auricles are in diastolic phase. That means the auricles are receiving the blood. Means both the auricles, right and left. So try to understand, the moment you come here, suppose at the end of the ventricular systole, do you understand the situation as in the ventricle almost no blood is there, and in the auricles there is a lot of blood, so there is a lot of potential generated because they are in the diastolic phase, right? So at the onset of ventricular diastole, what will happen? This cuspid valve will open. The moment the cuspid valve will open, the blood which was accumulated in the auricles will rush in the ventricular chamber. Rapidly it will get in. Why? No blood in the auricles, hell lot of blood. So there is a pressure difference, and as you know, liquid tends to travel from high pressure to low pressure. So this blood from the auricles will rapidly get into the ventricular chamber. You can ask, sir, what if these two, they are also having blood, these two blood vessels, here no blood, here also pressure difference, accepted. And I appreciated your point. But do you want this blood to come down again? Because this is where from you have sent the blood up. So you don't want the blood to come down again, right? It doesn't make any sense. So at the onset of ventricular diastole, cuspid valve will open, semilunar valve will get shut, and that will create another heart sound, and like you have told already, that is my dub. So in some of the book you may get lub dub, some of the book you may get lub dub, whatever it is. Logic should be important for you to understand. So you have got it, right? So in this ventricle, or at the onset of ventricular diastole, there will be a rapid filling of the blood. Can you see that? The blood will rapidly getting. So I write here, this is my first rapid filling of the blood. Right? First rapid filling of the blood will take place, and it fills almost around 1/3 of the ventricles by this. Right? Now if you see, for this next 3 seconds, it is again in the diastolic phase. You also come here, diastolic phase, right? That means in this particular scenario, both the chamber is receiving the blood, means auricles are receiving the blood, cuspid valves are open, so from the auricles blood will go down to the ventricles. That means blood is coming in, blood is going down, blood is coming in, going down, coming in, going down. The same thing will happen for this phenomenon, right? So it will lead to the slow filling of the blood. So next 1/3 of the ventricles will be filled up by this. Point number 1. Guys, I want you to focus on this particular case. Can you see one thing, guys? Starting from 0.5 second to 0.8 second, both the chambers are actually doing relaxation. So this is a phase which is alternatively known as joint diastole. Both of them are under diastolic mode, right? Now you have come here at the end. Now you will go here in the 0.1 second back. Why? Because you want whatever blood is now left out in the auricle, those blood should be squeezed down to the ventricle. And as you see, it's very swift here. It takes almost around 0.1 second, guys. It's very swift. So as a result of which, you can see it is still in the diastolic phase. That means ventricles can easily receive the blood from the auricles. So in this case, the second rapid filling of the blood will take place. Second rapid filling of blood in the ventricles. That means first rapid filling 1/3, slow filling second 1/3, second rapid filling the final volume. Right? So this is how your whole cardiac cycle appears. I hope you have enjoyed and understood this concept. Now as we know, guys, you people are more familiar with a pie diagram, so I'll make it over here. I think this is visible. Yeah. So as you know, you require a pie diagram where you basically show something like this. If this is your 0.0, this will be your 0.8 as well. Means from where you're starting, you are ending it there only. So the whole circle takes around 0.8, right? Now if you go all the way long back here, that means it becomes half. So it is now your 0.4. So let's put it 0.8 second, 0.4 second, right? Now if you make here, if you mark 0.1 second, and if you further mark 0.2, 0.3 and 0.4. So what we know? We know that this 0.1 second, this one represents the auricular systole, as you can see here, 0.1 second. This next 0.3 second represents my ventricular systole, as you can see here, 0.3 second ventricular systole, right? And from here 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 and 0.8. These last 0.4 seconds represents your joint diastole. As you can see, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8. Right? So that's it, guys. That's about the cardiac cycle. I hope you have enjoyed and understood the cardiac cycle in this way. Those who are watching my channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and please share the videos with your all well-known people, and hit the like button without any fail. So till we come up with the next something interesting video, stay tuned, and once again, Happy New Year. Bye bye.